I'm a research associate here at MMU. I finished my PhD about 4 months ago now, and I did my PhD in cognitive psychology. About 2 weeks before the Viva itself, I came back to my books and the thesis itself, and I started to read chapter by chapter the studies that I'd actually undertaken for my PhD. I think if you listen to your DOS and those around you, they'll give you the typical questions you can prepare for, such as give us an overview of your PhD or the novelty of this work. So there are some questions that you can prepare for.
What led you to doing this work that we have before us today?
Okay. I think probably one of the most valuable tips I could offer is, as long as you're absolutely sure of the work that you've produced and you know that you've challenged the work yourself and you're very happy with what you've actually put in your thesis, then that should actually carry you through your examination. I was particularly mindful, I think, to engage both of the examiners in the process. So I needed to control, or I felt I needed to control the actual examination. So I had two examiners from completely different fields, and it was really important for me to be able to draw on literature that actually engaged both of those, so we could almost have a discussion rather than an examination of my work. I wanted to show them what I'd done and my thoughts, and actually engage both of those in the conversation. The actual point of the examination is that it's an oral defence of your work. But so long as you answer any questions honestly and truthfully, and you really reflect on the process that you've gone through, you probably shouldn't come across any sticky situations, if you like. But if you do, your chair will be there to intervene. So he's really on your side in the whole process. And if he feels that the examiners are asking you to perhaps do things to your thesis or alter it in a way that is a bit unjust, then he will be there on your side to actually recommend otherwise.
What led you to make the change between those three studies? So in the first study you chose to look at the particular target locations. Why did you make a different decision in studies 2 and 3?
Actually, in studies 2, we use the same protocol.
I wondered if I don't think you have, you don't report it here, done any statistical test, comparing the strengths of the correlations, and I wondered whether that might be worthwhile.
I think because they were both correlated, I didn't do that extra. I could do that extra, compare the correlations between the older and the young group. Yeah,
it'd be fairly simple to do. It might be quite interesting to see if there's actually any statistical significant difference between the two.
Yeah.
And what would that add? So had you done that comparison, if there was a difference, what would that add to your interpretation, or would it change your interpretation of your findings? I guess might be a better way to pose a question. So if you ran a statistical comparison, you found that one was different to the other.
One piece of advice I could offer probably is that I was allowed to meet the external examiner beforehand, so that diffused the situation or desensitised the situation. So it was a brief 5-10 minute chat just about her holiday and where she'd visited in UK, but it really made me feel a lot more calmer going into the examination. I think it's really important in the actual exam to to make your experiences known to the examiners. So during your 3 years of your PhD, there will undoubtedly have been some dark days, some days when you feel completely up against it, some days where you need to do an awful lot of thinking to get over a particular hurdle. Now those sort of experiences don't normally come out in a thesis, or they wouldn't come out in publications, but during your exam you have that opportunity to actually explain to your examiners how you solve problems, how hard some of the problems were. It's a great opportunity to bring your PhD to life, and it's probably the only opportunity that you'll actually get to tell somebody how difficult the process really was. One of the tips I would offer is, or something that you could probably prepare for, is thinking about how you can take your research further. So in the weeks leading up to my exam, when I was reading my thesis, ideas started to jump off the page, if you like, ideas that I hadn't necessarily saw when I was either writing the work or in the weeks preceding the immediate time before the examination. And so for me, I just went through the whole thesis and put stickers on areas that needed further research or needed further thinking or ideas for other studies. And I brought those with me as as a means of showing my examiners, actually, this research doesn't stop here. This research is new research, it's ongoing research, it's valid research. And I really wanted to show them that it was just the start of a process, not the finish of a process.
Doctor of Philosophy, Sheree McCormick.